Let it go.
All
Let
right.
it go.
You're a bit flat. You're gonna have to.
Go on, can you fill in for me?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I'm afraid not. I'm not weird like you. I don't sing. I'm just joking. Hi, welcome to Transport. Great start. I'm keeping it. I'm not afraid. Welcome to Transportoholics with me, Albrook, and this guy.
Ollie Pickles.
And we've got a special guest, the specialist of special, called. What's your name, mate? Who are you, and why are you here interrupting our flow?
Well, I'm the special guest. My name is Special Guest. My name is Waqar. Waqar Wasti. I'm here because, well, frankly, someone needed to add a bit of intellectual rigor to this podcast. So I'm here for that, for this one episode only. And that was a dig at Alex more than Ollie. Ollie's actually smarter than me. Alex, I'm not sure.
I need a lot of catching up to do, so you're definitely right on that. A lot of catching up. Right, so the kind of tempo we're going to be going for. Ollie's got some topics for us. Not too much stuff, but some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Then I've got some stuff for Waqar. We're going to merge the two. It's going to be a homogenous. It's going to be a combined mess. It's going to be awesome.
That's what we're going for.
So we'll kick off with Ollie's stuff, or should we ask Waqar some stuff? What do you want to go for, Ollie? Let's go for your stuff first.
I'll take him first.
Let's go.
Yeah. So, yeah. Right. All right. So Waqar, you went to Nottingham, didn't you? And you did economics as your undergrad. And I know that you got an interest for behavioural economics. For any of our listeners that don't know what behavioural economics is, it's the study of economics and behaviour. Because economics has always been, neoclassical economics has always been to do with thinking of that people are rational, they're really selfish, and utility maximizing. But if you're a behavioural economist, you know that humans aren't particularly rational. We make stupid decisions all the time.
We're the worst.
We're not truly selfish. We do look out for each other a bit, and we're not always completely utility maximizing either. And what I wanted to ask you about, Waqar, is how we can apply behavioural economics to the big problems in transport, such as decarbonising and congestion.
Knock him out with the first one.
Sorry about the big question there.
That was a big hitter for the first question. Yeah. Fair play, Ollie. It's a good one at the same time. Not only behavioural economics, but economics is really, the study of incentives. Like especially, I know, Ollie, you did economics at college as well. We've been doing it for like 5 or 6 years, and you really learn how to, how people's incentive align to their action. And I suppose one of the biggest ways you can use economics to maybe tackle one of these problems, much like reducing carbon emissions to do with transport, I think is probably, adding a capital sort of price to carbon. I think it was Elon Musk that really pushes this thought. Like actually have an effective carbon tax. If you price carbon effectively, you align like all these companies and maybe the transport agencies incentives to actually reduce their emissions to the point where they're not emitting unnecessarily. So if you make people pay for it, and if it becomes expensive enough, their behaviour will align with what
because companies like needs avoid costs.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's really simple, and I mean, if you ask any normal economist or most people, they think that makes perfect sense. It follows like a logical chain. But for some reason, in real life practicality, it's not really been applied too well. And I don't know whether that's because of lobbying from maybe some of these bigger companies, or because they have an incentive not to pay this, so they'll actually pay the government.
I think you're right there. I think one of the policies that always seems to come up is road pricing, and that's like it's a behavioural incentive. If you increase the cost of how much it is to travel, people are not going to want to travel as much. But it's also really politically sensitive, and at the moment, it's a little bit less. But if you went back 5 years, any government that suggested they wanted to do road price, I don't think they would have got into any party that suggested that they wanted to do road price. I don't think they would have got into the government because it comes back to this thing about the endowment effect, because traditionally we've given roads to people as a free public good, but if we now say no, you're not having that road. You can't
Back
drive,
up, mate.
you can't
Back
drive
up.
on that free. I'm going to charge you for every mile that you're on it. Then people are going to be like, well, I want my free road back. So how do we get around that? I don't know. I think people are starting to think more about this as climate change, everything becomes more prevalent. But yeah.
I guess there's a massive disconnect between these public goods like road maintenance and whatnot, and the fact that we do actually pay for them by tax. I think there's a massive disconnect. You just pay your tax. I pay tax. You guys pay tax. But you don't really think about where it's getting spent, and you don't really think about the fact that it's actually getting spent on these roads. So, but that endowment effect is there, but I guess one potential way it would be to add a bit of transparency in terms of how that money is spent. That if you could directly correlate the money that comes out of your bank account to the effect it has on the, on your transport
negligible
or the road.
Well, it's like what there's like cyclists are always getting a battering for, you don't pay road tax, but they don't. There isn't such a thing as road tax. Like you don't pay as a driver. You don't pay to drive on the road. You pay that as a citizen of this country anyway. It goes into, you pay that through your council taxes. So what you pay goes into a general pot of money, which is then redistributed and spent on road maintenance. Going off on a bit of a tangent here, but yeah, it's not such a thing as you don't currently pay to drive on the road through the vehicle that you use. It comes from a general pot of money.
And then maybe you should pay from the vehicle you use. Maybe that would be one way to add that transparency into the money that comes out of your account to the actual impact.
I think that's a good way to do it. Going back to the road pricing, definitely. I also want to get your opinion on what you think of nudges. I know it's going back to behavioural economics, nudge theory. I know Alex doesn't know what this is.
I was going to say, I'm just what? What's a nudge? This is my stupidity calling right now.
All our other listeners that might not know what this is. So it's about giving people like a little nudge to do something that they wouldn't necessarily do, but you can put something in their environment that changes their choice.
Right.
For example, there's a study done a while ago, and in the men's urinals, guys weren't particularly good at peeing in a straight line, and the cleaners were getting really annoyed because they were always having to clean the pee off the floor. So they came up with this ingenious idea, and they got some stickers of little flies and put them on the urinal in the centre of it, and after that, there's no piss on the floor. You give the guy something to aim at, they aim straight.
It should be like Laser Quest, where the points rack up. After you finish in the bathroom, you go to the cashier, like, I took out 3 flies. Is that equivalent to a teddy bear? A small, you need tokens for this. Let's turn into a gamification thing.
But yeah, where I was going with this is, I don't know if you've seen, but if you've been out much or not because of COVID and everything, but they're popping up on the streets everywhere. Well, in places, they're electric cars, and they've got like a little green number plate on them. It's like a little green strip on the back. I don't know. Have either of you seen these? On the number?
No, I've not seen them. No.
Yeah. So, the government were looking at this, and the idea behind it, the behavioural team at the government looked into it, and the idea is if people see the green strip on the number plate, it raises awareness of the electric cars, and then people are more likely to buy them. But the other argument for it is it's a form of environmental, of conspicuous conservationism. So it's like a keeping up with the Joneses type thing. In that, so and so's got that car, I better get one now. But it might not actually be the best thing for you, is it? In terms of for the environment or for your back pocket either, because your house might not be very well insulated, so it might be better off. You might be better off spending that on insulation instead of buying a 60 grand Tesla.
I mean, that's true.
That's a good call. Yeah,
it's true. They are expensive. I don't have 60 grand. I'm not sure about you guys. But yeah, I mean, what you look. how I see things like that, this environmental elitism and maybe people buying Teslas for the sake of buying Teslas because someone else they know has got a Tesla. I just think the net of it is good. So the alternative is maybe half the people have an electric vehicle. They might have some spare money in their account, but they're not going to spend it on insulation. That's probably not going to happen. They might just spend it on something else. It's like the same argument with smokers, right? You hear a non-smoker tell a smoker, if you stop smoking for 10 years, you'll have enough money to save up to buy a Ferrari. The smoker will just turn around and say, where's your Ferrari? Like, the money's very rarely, optimized in that sense. Keeping up, the keeping up with the Joneses, that effect isn't great. It's not ideal, but it's better than the alternative.
Yeah.
Of nothing getting done in the first place.
Mate, you just 619 that was sick.
Okay.
Good.
That was good.
Boom, boom, jab, right hook.
All right, I want to segue into my next point, if that's all right, if I can do that.
Right away.
So this week I was watching Top Gear, and they did this sweet segment on electric race cars. It's a new series called Extreme E, and these cars they're fully electric. Lewis Hamilton's got a team. Jenson Button's got a team, and it's coming out in March this year. And they're going to be going to places around the world that have already been affected by climate change. They're going to be racing in Greenland, Saudi Arabia, and the Amazon. And the idea is to shine a spotlight on these places where there's been serious environmental damage already, and kind of show what needs to be done. So it's also going to be gender equal, so you can have male racers and female racers. But what I saw so far was that the cars can only do about 20 miles before they need another charge. And this has got me thinking, and I put a post about this on LinkedIn about how the average person, on average 60% of all the miles that we drive are in trips of under 35 miles per trip.
Yeah.
So it got me thinking, why do we need all these, like the commercial electric cars that people are driving, like the Teslas, and whatever else there is? I can't think of any. Nissan Leaf? There. Why do we need cars that have got such big ranges on them when people are only doing trips that are like less than 35 miles on average? Because you've got to cart around that big battery. So why not, like, for example, I guess I'm saying, if you're only going to do a 5-mile trip, why not go on a bike or a scooter or something?
Yeah, it's this is one of the main reasons why Tesla's been so big in like China. I think it's China. Is it China?
Yeah, China's one of the biggest markets.
Yeah.
It's because obviously their cities are very highly compacted, and I remember another interview with Elon, and he was saying that one of the reasons of this is because the average drive time, the average drive distance is so low for people who live in urban China, that it's like a very much an incentive point. So it becomes a lot, that driving distance isn't a factor. But I suppose then look at the the alternative side of the argument. Then you look at countries maybe like Canada, for example, very sparsely populated. Like they have very big cities, but they're very far apart, and that need is there. And I suppose there's also some sort of cognitive dissonance between, I don't know, when you hear of an electric car, you automatically relate its value to how far it can get. You always think electric cars, one of their biggest down points is their range, and regardless of whether that's important to you or not, you just think that's just that range. And then that's the point you compare to like a petrol car. I don't know. I guess it's just one of them measuring points where it's not really that relevant, but relevant for most people, I should say.
I guess the point I'd argue is you wouldn't take you wouldn't drive around in a bus on the off chance you need to have 50 people pick up 50 people. So why would you drive around with a 300-mile range on the off chance that you need to drive 300 miles? I fully get that you're going to need to at some point, but I just think it's a bit unpractical if the majority of your trips are going to be smaller. Why not use something that's a bit more practical for that?
I suppose you've got loads of different kinds of EV companies coming out with different size vehicles, both scooter for the inner city, then the 2-person, 1-person.
Yeah.
So I guess, given development of the battery power and battery manufacturing, then that should open more room to those kind of journeys that you're talking about, the 10-minute, 5-minute, 30-minute, and all those kind of things. So that means the market's going to get way bigger, and Tesla's going to have a bit more of a, I guess, push-pull, because right now they're just dominating. They can just steamroll through everything.
Yeah.
So if the battery development changes and other kind of city urban, regulations, all that adapt and whatnot, then I reckon, I reckon what you said will definitely be addressed. That's what I think is looking at the EV market and how bullish everybody is on so many different areas, and the battery market, especially the battery market, which is a weird thing. If anything, the battery market could be getting bigger right now because there's just so many innovations happening around it. So I reckon it could get very interesting and do stuff like that. What you said.
Yeah. Hopefully that'd be an optimal good, really, wouldn't it? It'd be like the utilization of the energy that we do have, and then you don't have a lot of wasted like materials used, wasted energy capacity. So you don't want a car in your drive that has a range of 500 miles when you're only going to use it 5 miles.
Yeah, I think that's my biggest bugbear is that. To be honest, I think. I think you're right though, Alex, that you were saying that with the battery technology, there's going to be a lot more different products on the market, because I mean, from my flat, I see them all the time. These electric scooters going past, they're everywhere nowadays.
I know, man, it's crazy.
People using them to get to work on it.
The electric scooters, I don't think I could. I don't know why. I just don't think I'd ever. I just go for a walk instead.
Why not? I reckon you'd ace it.
I think the bad thing about them though is you're not getting any exercise. You just literally stood there, like what compared to like a normal bike.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I saw as well. I was just on Instagram scrolling, and an advert came up, Vodafone, a new phone, and it said, "Buy this phone, and you get an electric scooter with it now." That's the kind of thing they're promoting them with.
How many minutes is it? Is it like 30 minutes and a scooter or something? 2 texts, 30 minutes, scooter.
4 texts, 35 megabytes a day.
Yeah, because we have to make the money go somewhere. You absolute. That's bloody wild. All right, cool. Did you have any? Wait, so that was I forgot what you call it, Extreme E thing.
Yeah, that was my second point, Extreme E. Yeah. Oh, finally. Sorry about that. About going back to the Extreme E. The really cool thing about these cars was, so they're going to get shipped round on a boat, which little fact, it used to be a boat owned by the Royal Mail for delivering mail to South Africa, something like that. But yeah, the cars are all going to be shipped on this boat from place to place, and they're also going to take researchers on the boat to do like climate science and stuff while the boat's going from place to place, which is pretty cool. And also, they've got solar panels on this boat, which are capturing the sun's energy, and they're turning that into hydrogen, which they're then turning into electricity, which is going to power the cars on the day. So they want to be carbon net zero by the end of this year, which I thought was pretty sick.
Which is wild, really. A question though. Yeah. Question for Waqar. Are you a Formula any letter fan? E, F.
Right. It's back this weekend.
Are you any of them?
23rd.
I'm not one that really keeps up with it, to be honest with you. But
cool.
The whole Extreme E and the Formula is it FE? The Formula
E.
Yeah, that sounds right. It sounds really interesting. I like the move forward. I've always it just seems like innovation, which is something
Well, yeah,
it's fun to see happen in real motion.
To plug the previous episode we did, me and Alex talked about the innovations of Formula One way back when. I think it was in one of the first episodes we did.
Yeah, I think it was when Queen Elizabeth was.
Yeah,
she's still Queen now. Never mind.
Queen Victoria was on the throne.
That's what I wanted, but then.
Well, yeah, one of the cool things they did in Formula One was they actually brought in the rear view mirror, because when you're driving, you can't. It was too much of an effort to turn your head to see where your opponents was, so they put the mirror in so you could see, and then that got brought into road cars.
Amazing. That's really cool, actually.
And I wonder what so it's going to be more and more like cool things like that. They're going to be putting road cars from the new electric ones, which I think is pretty cool.
I mean, you see this with a lot of like new technology, don't you? It usually gets made for like an extreme case, use case, and then it just becomes commercialized when people, it usually gets developed at the extremes of any activity, and then people like make this new technology and then find alternative, more regular use cases for it. I mean, it happened with NASA loads, didn't it?
Yeah.
I think memory for perfect example.
And Velcro.
And Velcro, damn yeah. I think that's why I don't think Formula One's going to be around for that much longer. I think it's all going to go electric because, because like, what's the case for it now? Is it just to show what petrol cars can do? It's all about electric now, isn't it? So I don't really see why they're gonna keep them for much longer. Like they're already using electric. Because you've got your your DRS and your KERS to give them the boost, the electric boost.
The what and your what now?
So KERS is a kinetic energy recovery system. Sorry, so it's when you're coming into a corner, you brake, and it puts the engine into reverse, and then the car captures that energy, and then when you come out of the corner, it gives you a boost of electricity, an electric boost. So
bloody hell,
did that make sense? Yeah, so they got that. I don't know where they invented that, but yeah, they now use that in road cars as well.
I mean, wild. Me and Waqar was like, oh, how about that?
Well, there you go.
And you're just like teaching a school and it's wild.
Learning about the KERS. Nice.
Next section. All right, here we go.
Yeah, go on, Alex. Go on. I've hogged the mic for far too long.
No, we're still going to be bouncing back between. Well, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, go on.
But I just want to quickly say, Mr. Waqar, right? Is your field within the startup? Is that where your field is, or where your interests are in the startup market or an investing one? I forgot where is it? What kind of sector do you work in? Because my question is going to get targeted to there. I know what it is.
Okay, good question.
People don't.
No, it's a good question, and I enjoy what I do now. It's happily, I would say I landed on my feet outside of uni. I've been quite lucky to end up working for a company that I really enjoy working for. So I work with predominantly, so the company I work for serves predominantly software founders, people who create these software startups, like early stage startups between sort of 0 and 10 million in annual recurring revenue. So that's predominantly the main persona we serve. My job within the company is actually more on the investor side. So a big thing that our company does, and the events we hold has been these events turned into like a regular meeting ground between these investors and these startups for fundraising, so they can raise pre-seed, seed, Series A rounds. My job is actually managing the investor side, of managing all the relationships on with the investors throughout Europe, venture capitalists and maybe PE and alternative financing routes. So mainly early stage software founders. That's who we work with, and my job predominantly is working with both early and later stage investors to help them find companies that are that could be potential unicorns. It's quite interesting.
I mean, it sounds cool. Do you reckon, obviously, because you've been there, I guess, for a bit, having been there for 2020 and I guess the first quarter of 2021, has there been a downtick or an uptick in the whole startup thing as a result of off the back of COVID, or as a result of COVID, or what's the cycle been like with new companies?
I mean, you know what it is. I can't remember who said it now. Someone really famous said, "You don't ever waste a good crisis," right? And it's very simple. It happens in business quite often. So you obviously have winners and losers in a market. So it's very hard to say overall has the market done, have startups grown or have startups shrunk? The number of startups, I should say. But that one of the metrics you can use in terms of maybe software companies is there's a VC, American-based VC called Bessemer Venture Partners, and I think they have it, and then they have an annual cloud. They have a cloud index which measures the total market capitalization of public cloud companies. And these are startups, but it's a good indicator of where the market's going. So in 2019, they released a 2019 report, and they predicted by the end of 2020 that the public cloud index would reach 1 trillion. Now, they then came to our event in October of 2020. And
you just brushed that off your shoulder, can I just say? You just like, oh, yeah, 1 trillion. You know how it goes. That's 1 trillion, bro.
It's a lot of cash.
Go on.
A lot of cash.
Go ahead.
No. It hit 1.7 trillion predicted to hit 1 trillion by the end of 2020. By October 2020, it hit 1.7 trillion. And they released
doubled it. Wow.
Yeah, so no, they doubled it. And then their latest report, the public cloud index, came out 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And if I remember right, it's actually hit 2 trillion now.
That growth rate is unreal.
So apparently, when the public cloud index or their public cloud index was first sort of formalized, if you would have invested I think it was $1,000, you'd have probably made about $12,000 now. That's how much it's grown over. I think it's over maybe 7-8 year time span. I can't quite remember the exact numbers, but it's So that tells you that that there's definitely winners in the market.
Yeah.
But then you look at maybe expense management companies, so business expense management. No one's got any expenses to manage. So these companies won't be doing too well, or hadn't been doing too well in during the COVID peak almost. And what you'll have found as well is a lot of companies will have started. So companies buy from companies, right? That's where they make revenue. But people stopped buying from each other, so everyone's revenue was down, and then everyone went into a fail-safe mode. Stopped spending money. They wanted to extend their runway, and you can do that by doing one of two things. You can either start, obviously making people cutting jobs in that respect, or you can start cutting costs in terms of tools you use to make the company run. Now, what typically happens, what might have happened in a lot of companies is they'll have had a review of all the tools that they use, and they'll have split it into two categories: tools that we must have and tools that were nice to have.
Yes, yeah.
So the tools like the must have, like Zoom to do all your meetings and all your sales calls, they exploded. But the nice to have, tools, I don't know what, like maybe employee,
an office, for example.
Yeah. Or a buffet, free food, all that stuff.
Yeah, the buffet. Yeah, the went down. So any company that was in those that had those perks that operated in that sector or that vertical got hurt during that crisis, because not only did they just stopped receiving revenue, all right. And I work, and then there's companies that like travel companies that didn't do quite well. Conference events, they didn't do too well.
Unless they put them all online.
Some of them they tried, yeah.
Yeah, so I work for a conference company, so I think throughout the year, I think we did a really good job of having that digital transformation to online, and then now we're actually going an extra step further, and there's been a huge change in the business model and a huge change in the way we operate, and I think ultimately it's the best actually. Now we have a more diverse portfolio of offerings other than just conferences.
What companies have you worked with that what interesting companies have you worked with that are making a comeback or doing really well even off the back of COVID? What kind of trends have you seen?
I mean, look, so I think largely, with a lot of companies, I mentioned earlier that almost at the start of COVID or the peak of COVID, when the first shock factor happened, a lot of companies stopped buying from each other, so everyone sort of froze their budgets. Yeah. But largely, I would say, and I say this generalizing, obviously there's going to be a lot of exceptions, but money started flowing again is what I'm trying to say. But if you look at then you can look at the other side of the argument where there are companies that have done especially well. So and those are mostly around the companies that focus on the future of work. So for example, Slack, huge. So Slack, I don't know if you guys use Slack.
Big fan of Slack.
I've used Slack before. Yeah, we were using that back in 2017 at uni. Yeah.
Oh, wow, there you go. Yeah, really good, really great tool. I almost spend like half my time on Slack nowadays, but they got acquired by, God, I don't want to say Hub. It was either HubSpot or Salesforce, I can't remember. But there was a lot of almost competitive Slack that came out. There was there was a lot of competitive Zoom. Teams got really big. More tools that focused on enabling people to do work remotely.
Wherever they were.
They also look at again, cloud computing, huge. So what happened was a lot of companies started to release infrastructure for cloud computing. So your AWSs, your Microsoft Azure's, Google Clouds. There's a few like smaller versions of them that started popping up, and what that enabled is more people to build, and I should say in conjunction with no-code tools. So now with no-code tools or low-code tools, and cloud computing or cloud infrastructure, I should say, anyone can build an app or a bit of software from anywhere with with much less skill.
Mm-hmm.
When I say skill, I mean programming. So what you'll find there is, a lot of cloud-based or software-based companies start forming everywhere, and usually like these are typically concentrated in that, and especially in Europe, it's like London, Berlin, Munich, Paris, those big cities. But now seeing sort of like Eastern Europe, a lot of the Nordics, they're all it's very much becoming decentralized. Is what I'm trying to say.
That's crazy. By the way, it was acquired by Salesforce for 27.7 billion, mate. Nothing but chub change. Change.
Yeah.
Got that in my back pocket now.
Jesus.
But yeah, you were talking about. I want to link that over to offices because I think you mentioned office space within that overall arching answer. What do you think is going to be happening with? Wait. I'll start with office space first, and then we'll go to commuting, because I think those are two interesting areas that do affect each other. So what do you think the future what do you think the future of office space is going to be? Because I know you guys have had a change off the back of, what's happening. So, what do you reckon is going to be happening with the whole office space? And
I think it's a good question.
Remote,
Yeah. I mean, I get you. It's one of those questions that everyone wished they had the answer to, and unfortunately, we won't get the answer for a while yet. But or at least until the pandemic starts to subside a bit more, and then people, we find out whether remote working is sticky or not. In terms of the company I work for, like we had an office in Farringdon in London. We don't have that anymore. We're primarily a remote first company now. So what I think, there's not. I don't think I've not been privy to any of the larger conversations at hand, but so from what it looks like, we're going to be remote forever, and there might further down the line be an option to maybe get a hot desk in a co-working space to work from. But again, not had anything solid about that through from management. So I guess I the only lens I can talk through is my preference. I really like working from home. I like working from home more than I like going into the office every day.
Do you get much done? I know a lot of people get more done, don't they? That's the argument. Like the employers were used. The classic argument that employers give is, we don't trust people. They're not going to get enough done. But isn't it the opposite's happened?
I mean, I guess it depends who you ask. So for me, definitely get more done when I'm not in the office. We have a very close team. We're all quite friendly. So the water cooler chat and coffee chats happen quite often. And I don't know. But then like our company specifically, they gave us a lot of freedom. So there's no one checking on whether I'm online. There's no one like looking through webcams and seeing it from my laptop or seeing on Slack whether my little dot is green or orange. I know. To be fair, I haven't worked a day this week yet. I have no idea. Just
let's hope your employer's not watching.
He knows I've been working quite hard. But this is what I'm trying to say. Like in a company like ours, the culture is that we all kind of just want to get shit done. and that is enough for us to like get on with the work and not sort of take the piss. But I know I have friends. I've got friends whose management or like CEOs don't really trust them, and I think this is a really bad way of going about it personally. But
Yeah.
I'm not in a seat. I'm not in a position to actually make that call. But I've friends, where the managers look through their webcam to see if they're at their desk the entire time.
Why would you do that?
I
Why
think
would
that's
you
really
do that?
backwards,
I don't understand it.
So apparently you can actually buy like almost like a webcam or a mount that goes on top of your monitor or something. That is like separate from the machine, but your manager can just kind of like a CCTV in your house, basically.
That's like got to be against kind of human rights.
It's exactly what I thought. Yeah,
that's wrong. That's wrong. If my employer was doing that, I'd be out the door.
I was gonna say I'd be straight. I'd be like, see you later, bro, or sister, depends who it is.
There you go. But yeah, I mean, but even it goes a bit further than that as well. And sometimes it's not even that sort of that intrusive. I know there's friends of mine where if you go inactive on if Skype's like your version of Slack and Skype's the thing that you use to communicate with your teammates, if you don't like move your mouse in a certain amount of time, it shows you're inactive, and then that's noticed, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So that's obviously like a less intrusive way. But it's still the same concept, right? You just don't trust your employees to get on with their work, which I think is, yeah. I mean, it's obviously down to the culture of the company.
So. Yes, 1,000%.
Yeah, I think that's very backwards.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, as a person, I say I like working from home, but I'd really love like a hybrid model where I could go into the office like 1 or 2 days a week. Perfect. That's enough for me. But there's an argument when it comes to, again, company culture. Like if you do have that option, are the people that do choose to go into the office more than others going to get preferential treatment in terms of
just subconsciously it could be as well. They might not even the bosses might not even try to do it, but it might just be subconscious just because you're there. Yeah.
Exactly that. So I mean, like if let's say we all work for a company and you guys always go into the office and I stay at home, because you two spend more time together and you have a better relationship. And let's thought Alex is like the manager. Alex is probably going to be more likely to give Ollie the promotion because he spent more time with him. He knows his skills better. That's a bit tough to get just over video. I'd say
I guess you need to judge them by the quality of the work they produce, don't you? Not the time in the office.
That's interesting as well. What do you mean though? Go on.
Well, you like what you've done. So if me and Alex, like you said, if me and Waqar, we're working for the same company and we're working on a piece of work and I do a rubbish job and Waqar does a good job, I shouldn't get the promotion. I guess is what I'm saying. I guess it wouldn't be as black and white as that, but that's the gist.
I mean, yeah, it's true, but how often in a company are two people doing the exact same job?
Yeah, that's it. Right? You can't normally compare it, can you? Good point. Was it interesting? I'll tell you two things that I saw last week. The BBC were asking. They had the chief of the Bank of England on, and they were talking to him about working from home, and because the Bank of England's going to, I think, after the pandemic, they're going to be working like 2 days a week from home. And the interview was insinuating that the businesses around the Bank of England weren't going to do very well because the employees won't be there. But I would argue that those employees are going to be like obviously where they live. So that means that the shops around where those people live are going to do better. So for example, if you've got the Starbucks next to the Bank of England, it's going to have less revenue, but the Starbucks next to where all these people live is going to do better, or the local coffee shop, the independent ones. And building on that, I also saw that it was saying that places that have got a garage are like the most sought after homes at the moment because people want to convert the garages into home offices. And I also said that people are now moving back into London because they can afford apartments and homes that they wouldn't otherwise be able to afford because the prices have fallen that much. So people are moving back into the cities because because the prices are currently cheaper, but they won't be cheaper for much longer if.
I was going to say, wouldn't it just be a wave?
Yeah,
if
yeah, exactly. If it continues to trend that way, then the prices will all go back up, won't they?
So for everyone out there, if you do want to move down to London, do it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. But go on.
Cheers, Alex. There's like a, I mean, you get what Ollie's saying. It kind of links into this thing that a lot of large cities are trying to do now.
Yeah.
They're trying to become 15-minute cities where you can get everything within a 15-minute walk.
Go on.
Yeah.
So like if you say the Starbucks in I don't know, Canary Wharf isn't doing it as well, but then the Starbucks in say Battersea is, then that business it's just a shift of business. It's not a lack of business.
Exactly. That's the point I argue. Like, you're not concentrating in the centre of London now. You're concentrating in the surrounding towns more so, like the suburbs. If we're being technical.
I mean, it sounds like a stupid thing, but who else but Alex to deliver stupid things, right? right. So what about would it ever happen? This could end up being like a dystopian thing, but would it ever happen where cities are only for essential companies and then all these Starbucks and stuff like that are around the neighborhoods? Would that ever happen? Is that a stupid thing to even think of? Because you guys thinking about saying about the shift of business going from a core city model to a more rural aspect. Would it ever happen for a city to just be void of all the core things and then just for it to relocate to the rural areas? Sounds stupid, right? This is why I said I preface it.
What do you mean by void? The city be void of all the core things?
So
because it's all. Do you mean literally like all the businesses go to the suburbs and everything?
Well, not all the businesses. You got the core businesses like your banks and all that stuff. Yeah. You know, your bank headquarters. The city centres are for headquarters. Yeah. And all the things like Starbucks and restaurants dotted around suburbs. Would that ever happen? Is that a weird thing? It sounds weird. It sounds unnatural. It sounds like it wouldn't work. But hey, would it? You still don't get.
I think you get more of them. Like you'll get more.
Does that even make sense? I don't know. Probably doesn't.
No. So I think what you're saying is I think you would get more Starbucks and restaurants and news agents. I think you'll get there'll be more of those in the suburbs, but I don't think they'll entirely leave the city. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. But there we go. I'm glad you cleared that up.
I mean, one of the like the silver linings of that, business being shifted out of the city, maybe independents might get more money, so that
that's a good thing.
Small cafe won't be able to get rent in Canary Wharf again, for example, but maybe they can in Clapham.
That makes sense. That makes a lot more sense. Well, I just wanted to throw it out there to see if it was like a ridiculous thing. Kind of was, but there we go. Also, what were you going to say?
I was going to say that saying ridiculous things is how we sort of get to the right thing. So keep throwing them out there, mate. Keep throwing them.
Get a pen, write that down. That was a good little maxim there. Very good. I liked it. Right. So there was another. You were talking about, I think, when we first had our conversation, you were talking about business travel and casual travel. How that would affect? I think you already covered that in terms of office spaces, but because you're talking about expenses. Now I've gone off guard now because I've answered. You've pretty much covered all the questions I had because that's. I think your question was still valid, wasn't it? You were asking, if I remember, are businesses still going to travel like post-pandemic period? I think that's what you were asking. Boom.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I think yes, and I don't think it's gonna. Okay, so let's define travel. Do you mean, so when we say travel, do you mean, say, one company's at they're in Central East London, another company's in like Central West London? That sort of travel, or are you talking, say, one company's in London and the other company's in, say, Ireland, and have to get a flight?
Oh, well, why don't we talk both?
Split it in two.
Yeah, split it in two.
Okay. So maybe the shorter distance travel. I think that might stick around. And you know what? I think okay. So I think both of them will probably bounce back. Maybe just not to the extent that it was prior to, just because of the fact that now we know we can conduct business over Zoom calls.
Mm.
You know, I mean, so when the pandemic hit, travel stopped, but businesses still have to make revenue. You know, companies still have to sell products. This everyone's still got to carry on doing things. And one of the emergent channels for that was sales through Zoom. So you get on a video call and you have a conversation about products, and then you try to sell through that. Now, I think that can still happen, but I think you know when the pandemic does come to an end, and the option to go travel to maybe Ireland for that bigger contract, I think people will definitely make that trip because, well, it just seems the example I'd give would be, say there's client A and then company 1 and 2. So company 1 and 2 are selling a very similar product to client A, and say company 1 they both have, and say that they both have an equally compelling product as well. They both have the same sort of sales messaging and whatnot.
Yeah.
Say company 1 is happy to go travel to Ireland to client A, build a relationship with them, take them out for a nice bit of steak, bit of red wine, another wine and dine them. Whereas company 2 will just get on a Zoom call and try to have a conversation with them that way.
Mm-hmm.
There's two arguments. The obvious argument would be, company 1 is going to have a better relationship with the client. They're going to trust them a bit more. They're going to prefer that product because they have like a human, put a face to a product, if you know what I mean.
Mm.
And then company 1 will get the contract of company 2.
It's signaling.
It's signal. It's exactly that. It's signaling. Perfect.
If you don't know what signaling is, it's where you like say it's like if a guy and a girl going out on a date and the guy offers to pay for the meal, he's sending out the signal that he's got some money.
Okay. Yeah, I guess in that basic sense. Yeah.
It's an example that everyone can get on board with.
Okay.
Sorry, I've completely cut you off.
It's we can pick up. I'm just thinking about how many dates I've paid for, and I'm still single.
Oh, let's all cry together, eh?
Maybe future. See how that goes for you.
Yeah, dude. So okay, then you can make the argument about company 1 went for all that trouble to go over to Ireland, build that relationship. But then there's the option of company 2 that they've done it all through Zoom. They've been super efficient with their messaging, and they've managed to they've saved the client time, like the client A's time, because they haven't taken a whole evening. They've not shown up at their office, actually had a conversation in person.
It's personal preference.
Yeah, it's personal preference.
Yeah.
I guess there's now there's like another option available where historically you'd have to go out and build relationships. Now there's another option. Much like how in sales, the only two options for the longest time were either calling someone or emailing them or maybe letters. I've never sent a letter, but
still a good form, by the way. It's very personal.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Feel free to send me a letter, Alex. I'd really appreciate it.
I will. It'll be a love letter. We can,
pen pals.
Get your pigeon carrier out. Get that carrier.
Yeah, okay, why not? I'll get that done.
Don't leave me out.
I'll send 1 letter to 2 people. Come on, Ollie.
It's not. I can't photocopy.
You got fight between yourselves. Decide who gets the letter.
Get your own pen pal, mate. What are you doing? I worked long and hard for this relationship. I kind of interrupted your flow again, but I don't know if you can catch it. But
where did I drop off?
I'll jump in with another point. What do you think about? Do you think there's going to be more company retreats happening because more companies are going to be working from home? So it's going to be more like they're going to set up like big events for more team building type things instead.
I hope so. Yeah, that would be great. Yeah. Okay. So what we found during this whole remote work period, and I've experienced this. Maybe some people have experienced it. The contrarian side of what I'm about to say. But any of these team building exercises that you do virtually, whether that be
I hate them all.
Pictionary,
I hate them all.
no one likes them. Yeah. What would you like? Okay, so these. Let me put this to you. Would you rate? It's the end of the week. Friday drinks.
No.
Drink, like Zoom. You'd rather just go watch telly, wouldn't you?
I'm off. Goodbye. Log off. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Well, I was going to say not look at your screen, but you are technically looking at another screen.
Nothing connected to that work.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess TV is a bit more casual than staring at your laptop, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you don't really even stare at your laptop. You don't. Who realistically actually sits down and watches TV? You're always doing something else, like just fidgeting or whatever. I don't know. It feels more relaxed, but I love my team. Right? Don't get me wrong. I can happily I do talk. We like every Thursday. We get together and we celebrate wins through the week, and we used to have Friday.
You do the same though if you're not seeing them in person though. You've got to have a physical connection, haven't you? It's because you already know your team, don't you, from working with them.
This is another question. This is another thing about working with them. So, I obviously started in the company, and you guys might have experienced this as well. I started in the company that I'm in when we were in person, right? So I built these relationships with my colleagues while we were in person. We used to go, the office building we had every Friday. The bar would just be open, and they'd have a free cocktail of the week. You could just go there, drink as many as you want. Then we'd always go out for drinks. We were very pally. I don't know if that would be the same if you were to be a new employee in a fully remote company. That to me seems like a completely different thing.
The integration would be more difficult, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Damn, I didn't even think about that. I forgot about new people because there's been an uptick in hiring, which is weird. It's very contrast to what's actually going on. I found it. So yeah, it's going to be interesting for people onboarding to these small, medium organizations.
Yeah.
Very strange. I reckon 2 more questions and then we'll stamp that. One is going to be kind of like a tangential one, and the last one is, well, I'll just ask you the last one when we get to it. First of all, what do you reckon to this crypto thing going on, right? The crypto more specifically, hang on, don't you start answering yet. I need to specify. Hang on, NFTs. What the hell is going on with NFTs and what the hell is going on with crypto? Both are going absolute to the moon, as they say. NFT, you got... you're going to have
to explain what an NFT is to me. I don't realize.
What does it even stand for? Do you know what it stands for? I forgot what it stands for.
Non-fungible token.
There we go.
What? What's that? I know what crypto is, but I don't know what NFT is.
You do your thing, but what do you reckon to them? Fill in Ollie with it, and then what do you reckon to it?
So NFT, I don't really know too much about NFTs. It's a very recent thing, and
it's weird.
And I've not been able to. Yeah, it's weird. It's an interesting one, that's for sure. I've not been too clued up on it. I've listened to a couple of things. So, from my understanding is, an NFT is what basically allows an artist, whether that be a musician, a painter, I don't know, even a digital artist who uses Microsoft, to sell their work, and effectively what it does, it gives you the rights to a digital instance of that product.
Oh,
so for example, Jack Dorsey sold his first ever tweet.
I saw this. Yeah.
And this digital artist sold his art for 70 million. 70 million.
What?
Where's the value coming from? Why? Who's buying it? It makes no sense.
It was that was a crazy.
So he sold his first tweet. He owns the rights to it.
The first ever tweet. So that tweet was the first ever tweet.
Does that mean that the new owner can do what they want with it, and they can delete it if they wanted? Or...
I mean, I don't know if they can delete it, but
would that
there would still be a contract thing attached to it.
That'd be weird. Yeah. What if they did delete it? Would it still exist then? How would that work?
I think it's more of like a snapshot of that product. So it's not the actual product. Imagine your screen right now is a work of art. It is a work of art. You see three striking lads like us.
Well, come on now. Hey. Whoa now.
And then imagine, I think this is how it works. And then imagine you take a screenshot. The NFT is that screenshot. Take the screenshot.
It's true though, because that was one of the criticisms with the guy that was selling his art for 10 million or something. Is the fact you could see it on Instagram, and Logan Paul was selling clips of a video that was on YouTube for like $10,000, $20,000 each. And I think so. He's made about 5 million within the space of a week through selling small 5-10 second clips of his Pokemon. I'm not even joking. That's why it frustrates me, because there's no ground to it.
Who's buying these? That's what.
Thank you.
This is it.
Phoning, if you're buying it, I would like to yell at you. Thank you.
Just creating a market out of nothing.
That's why I think it's That's why I think it's going to be very volatile. There must be a crash at the end of it, just like with.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess it's a new thing, isn't it? And people are just speculating that they're just going to go up in value.
I think it's a weird internet meme thing. Quite a few is just like, I don't know. Come on, Logan Paul opening, Pokemon cards as a quick 10-second clip worth, what was it, like 20, 30 grand?
Yes, 60 grand. It's like, you can watch the video and just get the clip yourself for free.
The thing,
you can GIF it yourself if you wanted to.
And clip it yourself.
Yeah, literally. But I think the thing is that it turns the NFT into its own marketplace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like, if you find a buyer, there's one product, it's like money realistically. You can trade it with other people. So as long as you can find someone to buy it, you can sell it for whatever, because it has realistically the only intrinsic value it has is is zero. Oof. The only value it has is the value that's put on it by people around.
Exactly. That's why at least crypto, with the Bitcoin and all that stuff, has got it's got a tiny bit more ground to it. But I still think crypto is as messed up as NFT. But that's just me personally, because I'm an idiot. But I do think all of it, humanity's weird right now. They're all weird. It makes no sense, everybody's decisions, but it's a whole thing. So at least you think it's weird as well, right?
The NFT thing, yeah, I just don't understand it right now. Yeah,
I also agree. After that explanation, that's so weird.
All right, cool. So that's down. Then the last question to sign off with: if anybody on the off chance is thinking about a startup or that kind of area, do you have any advice for them? Or
could be one of
our just off the off chance, because if it was someone like me, I'm always interested in this kind of area. So if there's any value to do with the getting to investment stage, or when you're starting up, or any kind of anything that you've figured or that you've observed, spill some beans.
It's a really good question. Yeah, I mean, like when I see startups and like I build a few products in my spare time. I'm actually building a couple now, and I think the main thing is actually focus on your product and then stay close to your customer. So find those initial users or customers for your product. Listen to them, look at how they use the product, and then really double down on that. Use them as iterative feedback loops onto developing your product further, because then you'll really refine like its positioning, the messaging, the functionalities, the features, everything like that. And then funding, get funding if you need funding.
Very good. That's good. When you need, get funding if you need funding. That's because you hear it a lot, don't you?
Yeah, you do. Everyone gets a lot of funding. Get funding 6 months before you need funding. You need a bit of runway. Runway is always important. Like have enough money to burn, because the first couple of months or maybe even a year or even longer, you're just going to burn money. It could be cash flow. You'd be cash flow for sure.
And I've got a question. What's your favourite mode of transport? I think this is a thing we're going to start with all the guests we got on. Me and Alex already answered it, and you're the first guest, so we need an answer.
Oh, no. I didn't know I was the first guest. Okay. Oh, wow. Favourite mode of transport?
Yeah.
Okay, so I quite like flying, because I don't really take that much transport, but I like flying. If it's just like short distance bike, but quite enjoy it. Traveling's a big part of my personality. Allowed to be fair, just one of those classic Instagram travelers.
Yeah. I've seen your Instagram. Pretty strong.
Oh, we've both been to Vietnam. I know. We've had a chat about it.
You and Vietnam, both of you, man. You all need to calm down. Vietnam ain't that great, you know. Get yourself to Surrey. That's where it's at.
You weren't there, man.
Right. Cool. That's wicked.
Cool.
We'll put a stamp on that. Mr. I like flying. Mr. Focus on your customers. And Mr. Give 6 months of runway. That's Waqar, mate. Thank you for joining us on Transportoholics. So
yeah, it was a lot of fun. Cheers for having us. Hope to see you again soon.
Yeah, cool. Peace out, guys. I'll see you in a bit.